Good morning. Welcome back to day 3. I'm going to get straight into it purely because I have learnt how tight 10 minutes is and I am determined to hit 10 minutes. Every day I'm like 13 minutes or so. Today we're going to be 10 and I've got a lot to fit in today. So gonna get stuck in. Thank you so much for joining again and for being here. I hope you're getting something out of them and that's why you're returning. Do let me know if there's anything extra you want me to include, or just any feedback in general really. Send me a quick message, or add a comment onto the videos and things like that. But thank you so much for being here and let's get started. So I've got the mat out today. We're going to introduce a couple of poses into the mix today. But let's begin the same way that we have for the last couple of days. We're going to tune into the breath first things first. So finding, as usual, your own comfortable seat. I love cross leg. I actually don't cross my feet underneath my knees. I like to kind of stack my feet one in front of the other. I think it just allows your kind of knees to fall more naturally. But you know, feel it out, find where feels best for you. And then as you're ready, just begin to close down the eyes. And as we've been doing, just start to notice. There's a reason why I'm beginning all of the classes with the breath at the moment. And that is because it's such a foundation for your yoga practice. I mentioned yesterday about it kind of brings you focus. It brings you back to yourself when maybe the mind starts to wander during your practice. So I think it's important at this early stage that we just kind of get used to coming back into it. So just notice. As you're ready and if it feels comfortable for you, maybe begin to introduce some of that nasal breathing we did yesterday. As you inhale, breathing through the nose, and as you exhale, breathing through the mouth. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. And just kind of finding your own rhythm here with it. Noticing if you kind of breathe up in the chest or maybe down deeper in the belly. And just hanging on to that breath. Keeping that nice rhythm consistent and steady. If the eyes are closed, just begin to blink them open. And first things first, today we are going to introduce child's pose. So it's a really nice pose. It's one we often come back to quite a lot in yoga as kind of a reset in between different parts of the practice as we kind of move through the flow. There's kind of this widely accepted, I don't know, it's just widely accepted as like a resting pose, I suppose. And it's not that for everyone, so I just want to make that super clear first things first. If this doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. There's plenty of other resting poses that we can find and that you can come into. But see how it feels, play around with it, some different options and things that I'll give. But just see how it feels for you. So keeping a hold of that breath, that inhale and exhale through the nose, we're just going to come first things first to all fours. So you want your hands to come down onto the mat. You want them to be underneath your shoulders. So you've got kind of that sort of right angle going there. And then you want to have your knees as much as you can directly underneath your hips. So you're in this kind of like all fours tabletop position, it's called sometimes. And just with that kind of neutral spine right now, we're just hanging out here. Once we're at all fours, all we're going to do here is slowly, as you press into your hands, press down into the mat, we're just going to slowly move backwards, so just moving your hips down towards your feet. As you do that, it might feel nice to take the arms further out in front of you, pushing with your hands, pushing the mat further away from you. And if it feels comfortable, traditionally the pose has you bring your head towards the mat. So forehead maybe touches the mat. And then you're kind of in control of the pose. So you can maybe walk your hands further down the mat if that feels good. You can maybe press into the mat a bit deeper and you'll feel that kind of opening across the shoulders and the back. And another option here for a slightly deeper stretch is to maybe take the knees as wide as the yoga mat or just out a little wider if you're not on a yoga mat. Maybe the big toes come to touch and it will just give you a bit more of a stretch through the hips. Same thing, arms out forwards. And if you've got a block here, I did bring one with my Blue Peter. Here's one I had ready, prepared. There's the option for, you can use a book, you can use anything here. You can use a cushion, you can use anything, but maybe bringing a block onto the mat for you to rest your forehead onto. And then once you've found something that feels comfortable for you, if that is not child's pose, feel free to find your seat again and just come into that and focus on your breath. But once you've found that pose, just begin to notice, as we have done. Focus on that breath. Think about the inhales through the nose. Think about the exhales through the mouth. And just kind of zone into yourself. I know that sounds maybe a bit strange at this point, but just give yourself that moment. It's just you there in your little child's pose cocoon. And just notice, see how it feels. Like I say, it's used quite often in a yoga practice as kind of the reset. So kind of if you're maybe doing a pose that's quite a bit more difficult, or maybe the practice has got quite warm, a lot of people will just calmly come into a nice child's pose and bring themselves back. It's just a nice way of kind of centering and kind of bringing your awareness back into your breath. From child's pose, we're going to come back up, so just pressing into the hands, bringing the hips back up into that all fours tabletop position. We're just going to quickly go through a cat-cow. So you might have heard of cat-cow. It's quite a popular stretch even with people who don't do so much yoga. And again, it's a really nice one to marry the breath to movement. So as you take an inhale, all we're going to do is drop the belly down. And if it feels comfortable to do so, you're just going to gaze up. As you exhale, I want you to really press down into the mat, really push your hands down, arch through the back. And if it feels okay, maybe bring in the chin to the chest. Inhale, drop the belly, gazing up. And then exhale, pressing through the mat, arching through the back, chin comes to chest. Just take a couple of these in line with your own breath. At your own speed. And again, just noticing how that feels. It's a good stretch for all through the back, through the shoulders, through the neck. And then just coming back into that neutral spine, back into the middle. All we're going to do is kind of come back, sit on the feet as we did a moment ago. Sweep the legs around because we are going to end today on our backs. So coming to lie down on the mat or maybe on the bed if you're still in bed, lucky you. Just coming down onto the mat, and we're going to bring the knees into the chest, and if it feels good, maybe clasping the hands around the knees and just kind of giving yourself a nice big hug. There's the option here for any gentle movement through maybe rocking from side to side, maybe massaging the lower back with a few gentle circles, maybe one way and then the other. This is one of my favourites. And then as you're ready, we're just going to release the legs back down to the mat. Take them out nice and long so that we're lying down. Arms can come alongside the body, maybe the palms face up. Just let everything grow really heavy. Close down the eyes. Let the breath return to your own natural rhythm. Letting go of that nose breathing if it doesn't feel quite so comfortable yet. And just letting yourself relax. We're back to where we started, noticing the sounds around you. I think it's just started to rain here. Letting yourself grow really heavy. And I'll just invite you to stay here as long as you'd like to today. So I'm going to leave you at this point. But if you have the time, feel free to stay here for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If I didn't have to get up and end this live for you, I would be staying here. Just enjoy the moment, enjoy maybe the silence, relative silence, and kind of let that sink in. Hope that was good today. We introduced a few more. I'm aware that I'm trying to fit a lot into 10 minutes, but hopefully it's good that we're starting to introduce some other poses and things, and kind of marrying the breath to the movement is starting to make a little bit more sense. But yeah, day 3 in the bag, everyone. Let's see what day 4 brings. Thank you for being here, and enjoy your final resting pose.